Hello, welcome to Toronto Bible Study. I'm your host Mike Sampat, and today I'm going to talk about this video by it's like a short clip of Jordan Peterson on the Joe Rogan show. So again, shills only interview shills, as we know. Mm. By the way, I do want to. I'm gonna make a video about these excuse me, about these logos, the clothing logos. This is Reebok. This is obviously an Illuminati symbol, right? And I always wear this Nike sweater. These are just I don't know. These are just gifts given to me. I'm too broke to buy my own clothes, and it's like so I get these gifts of clothes, and I have like the same sweater for years. That's why I have these things. That's why I wear these things, not because I like support these or anything, right? But I will do a video about how clothing labels are Illuminati too, right? But I just want to talk about this thing right now. So anyway, this is Jordan Peterson on the Joe Rogan show talking his usual smack. This guy's so bad, man. This guy is so bad. The shillery, next level shillery. All right, next level, and Joe Rogan obviously too, right? Obviously. But anyway, this is a short clip, so I'm just gonna let it play out, and then I'll just let the whole thing play, and then we'll talk about it. Okay? So it's not very long.
The line, the meek shall inherit the earth, meek is not a good translation, or the word has moved in the 300 years or so since it was translated. What it means is this: those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the world. And that's another thing I've been telling. Yeah, no kidding. That's a lot different, man. That's a big difference. It's so great. And so, like, one of the things I tell young men, well, and young women as well, but the young men really need to hear this more, I think, is that you should be a monster. You know, because everyone says, well, you should be harmless, virtuous. You shouldn't do anyone any harm. You should sheath your competitive instinct. You shouldn't try to win. You know, you don't want to be too aggressive. You don't want to be too assertive. You want to take a back seat and all of that. It's like, no, wrong. You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it.
So I don't know what that is, right? But that's just ridiculous. Everything he said is ridiculous. Okay, you should not be a monster, and Jesus is not telling you to be a monster. And I don't know what he said about. I can't remember what he said about. What did he say there about like it's something about get your sword out or something like that? It's complete nonsense. Okay, that's not what it says. It's not the translation in any language. And let's just take a look at that right now. So this is from the famous Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' famous Sermon on the Mount. This is one of the most famous speeches in world history. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirits, for theirs is the kingdom of God. For this is the kingdom, theirs is the kingdom of heaven, excuse me. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." So Jordan Peterson says that's something like, let's hear him. I don't know. I hope you can hear
The
this.
line, the meek shall inherit the earth, meek is not a good translation, or the word has moved in the 300 years or so since it was translated. What it means is this: those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the world. And that's another thing I've been telling. Yeah, no kidding. That's a lot
Those who
different, man.
have
That's a big
swords.
difference. It's so
Why?
great.
Why
And
would?
so,
Why
like, one of
would
the things I
anybody translate it that way? Those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the earth. That's not what this says. Okay, so this is blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed, Makai Rioi. Excuse me. So the word is Makarios. It's an adjective. You can see at the bottom there, like the information about the word. So the word is Makarios, and its form here is Makarioi because it's like the plural form. Okay? Blessed are the meek. Uh, blessed, and then hoi hoi praes. Makarioi hoi praes. That's the that's the meek, or you might say gentle. Okay? Blessed are the meek, and then hati means like so that, or yeah, you can see it at the bottom, right? It's a conjunction, and it can mean that, because, since, or you might even say the word why in there, or it might be like so that, so that, or yeah, because it can introduce a result clause or a purpose clause. That's the usual way that they see it. And yeah, hati for, and then they. This is they, autoy, and then shall inherit the earth. That's this one because it's the future. You can see it at the bottom again. So this is the verb, right? Inherit. Clerano mesusin. Oh no, wait. Clerano mesusi. Because it'll be mesusin if the next word starts with a vowel, but it's mesusi because the next verb starts with a consonant. So clerano mesusi is the third person plural future active indicative of kleronomeo. So that means they will inherit the earth. But because they actually use the word auto, you don't have to put this auto here because this word has it in the word. But sometimes they'll put the word anyway, the pronoun. It's not necessary, but they'll put it there sometimes. So sometimes it's for, we don't know why they put it, right? But usually they'll say they put it for emphasis maybe or some other reason, but it's not clear exactly why they put that because it's not necessary because the verb has all that information, and very often you'll see the same kind of sentence without this pronoun. Okay, and then tain, this is the definite article, and gain, um gain is the earth. Like, you may have heard, like, it's like kind of like Gaia or something like that, or they would say things like, because this is the form it takes when it's in the accusative, but generally it's just gay, right? Like at the bottom you can see when it has that V thing at the end, that's the N sound in Greek, so it's gain, right? But in English it's just, or I mean, if it doesn't, if it's not, because now it's the accusative form of the word. Okay, it's like, it means that's the object of the sentence, the direct object. So it's in the accusative case. So that's why it takes that form, gain. But normally it's that other form, gay, and that's where we get the word like Gaia in English for earth, kind of, or the Greek goddess of the earth is Gaia. That's where that name comes from. But anyway, there's nothing here. There's no reason why you would ever translate this thing into blessed are they who have swords, or whatever he was saying, but they could sharpen them, or what I don't know what he said. It was so dumb. I just stopped listening, but it's just nonsense what he's saying, okay?
I tell young men, well, and young women as well, but the young men really need to hear this more, I think, is that you should be a monster. You know, because everyone says, well, you should be harmless, virtuous. You shouldn't do anyone any harm. You should sheath your competitive instinct. You shouldn't try to win. You know, you don't want to be too aggressive. You don't want to be too assertive. You want to take a back seat and all of that. It's like, no, wrong. You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it. the line, the meek shall inherit the earth, meek is not a good translation, or the word has moved in the 300 years or so since it was translated. What it means is this: those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the world. And that's another thing I've been telling. Yeah, no kidding. That's a lot different, man. That's a big difference. It's so great. And so, like, one of the things I tell young men, well, and young
I hope you guys can hear what he's saying there, but I don't know. Like, if you look at this thing, there's no reason why you would say all this stuff about swords. Those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed. That's nowhere there. None of that stuff is there. Not even one thing of that. There's nothing about swords. There's nothing about keeping them sheathed. And there's nothing about like knowing how to use them. There's nothing about anything he just said in that line. What is he saying? Why is he saying that? It's so ridiculous, man. Then he's like, "Oh, be a monster, be a monster." So you see, when this guy goes out and says he's Christian and he talks about how he's Christian and all this stuff, it's just nothing but a bunch of lies, man. He's just a false teacher. He's a false teacher, but he's not like a Christian false teacher, like literally like a pastor who's just a false teacher. He's like a teacher of the secular world who's pretending to be Christian now to get into that market. But what he just said there is so absurd, so ridiculous that any Christian who watches that and thinks that this guy is a good Christian teacher or something like that, you're just naive and foolish if you think that, okay? Look what he just said. He just said that thing that Jesus said, Jesus's words, Jesus's own words, for the most famous speech in world history. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. He says, those that have swords or something, those that have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the earth or something like that. What kind of foolishness is that, man? What a ridiculous nonsense thing. There's not even one of those words is here. Blessed. This is okay. If we took the literal translation, right? It's blessed or whatever, happy. Makarios, right? Hoi praes, that's like the gentle. Blessed are the gentle. Blessed, see, it doesn't say are, right? Like they don't have that. They see how the King James puts it in italics? Because sometimes in Greek they'll have the verbless clause. So you just insert the Greek mind understands that that's just got the verb to be in there. But in English, we just supply it, right? So, blessed are the meek. Blessed the meek, the gentle, whatever you want to say. Blessed the gentle. Hati is for or because they shall inherit the earth. There's no reason to put anything else what he's saying there. Nothing, none of that stuff. That's just absurdly bad. Like, it's so ridiculous, man. But this is the words of Jesus Christ, man. That's the words of our Lord, right? And again, one of the most famous speeches in world history, if probably not, that might be the most famous speech in the history of the world. And that section of that speech is the most famous section of that speech. And he's taking it and twisting it into this nonsense. What a bunch of foolishness, man.
young women as well. But the young men really need to hear this more, I think, is that you should be a monster.
You
You know,
should
because
be a
everyone says, well, you
monster.
should be harmless, virtuous. You shouldn't do anyone any harm. You should sheath your competitive instinct. You shouldn't try to win.
No,
You know,
no.
you don't.
Hold on. Now, when Jesus says "Blessed are the meek," he's not saying you shouldn't try to win or that you should sheath your competitive instinct. He's not even saying to sheath your sword necessarily. You know, all he's saying there is like you don't you don't go straight to the sword. You know, you don't go straight to the sword. You try to do the gentle way, the gentlemanly way first. But it's not like you have to be weak or a pussy or anything like that. No, You can have a sword. Jesus told his disciples to carry a sword. He told them to sell their cloak and buy a sword. Okay, because he's not telling them to be these meek losers and that are just soft and they can't defend themselves. That's not what he's saying at all right? He's just saying meekness in terms of even like as a soldier. Let's say you're a soldier, you're a literal warrior. You kill people, that's your job. Your job is to kill the enemy, okay? Upon command, all right? You're a soldier. He's telling that guy to be meek. And how does that guy be meek? Well, that guy can be meek by he does his job. He kills people on command as he's supposed to do, kill the enemy. That's what he's supposed to do. That's his job, yeah? But his job is also, don't get me wrong, soldiers don't just kill the enemy. They also they protect people. They save people from they help places in natural disasters and stuff like that. They do all kinds of work. The soldier is very important to our society. There's nothing wrong with being a soldier. Nothing wrong in Christianity with being a soldier. Okay? Absolutely not. It's a godly enterprise just like anything else. But the godliness comes from you, not from your job, right? So whatever job you're in, whether your job is to be a soldier or to be the CEO or to be the guy who scrubs the toilets, whatever your job is, right? Just be meek. Be meek in that role. And what that means is be polite, be gentle, be kind, be patient, okay? But there's nothing about competing your competitive edge or nothing to do with that. That's nothing to do with that. You can be competitive and still be meek. There's nothing wrong with that. You're just competitive in that arena. Okay, but then after you win, or let's say you win, then be a gentleman and shake the guy's hand. If you lose, okay, don't be a sore loser. That's what Jesus is talking about. He's not saying you need to be you need to sheath your competitive edge or whatever. But he is saying to not be a monster. That's the difference between what Jesus said and what Jordan Peterson is saying. Jordan Peterson is telling you that the opposite that if you're meek, then you shouldn't be meek. You should be a monster. And Jesus is saying, be meek. He's not telling you not to. He's not telling you don't be competitive or put away your sword or anything like that. He's not saying anything like that. Okay, but he's saying be meek. Okay, so if you have a sword and you know how to use it, that's good. Nothing wrong with that. Jesus is not saying there's anything wrong with that. But he's saying you use that thing for a godly purpose and understand that there's a God in heaven looking at you. So if you try to use your sword to like oppress weak people or oppress the poor or whatever, well, God's watching you and you won't be blessed. But if you use your sword to go and protect the weak and help them, and you do it with gentleness and kindness, well, that's amazing and God will bless you. That's what he's saying there. Blessed are the meek, you know? So, I don't know. This is just foolishness, man. These people are wicked. This guy and Joe Rogan,
You don't want to
man.
be too aggressive. You don't want to be too assertive. You want to take a back seat and all of that. It's like, no, wrong. You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it. The line, the meek shall inherit the earth, meek is not a good translation, or the word has moved in the 300 years or so since it was translated.
The word has moved. That's what he's trying to say. He's trying to say the word meek. The word meek it's been 400 years, all right, since the King James. That's the King James. Obviously, there were other English translations before the King James, but whatever. Let's say that's what he's talking about, I guess. So, okay. So it's been 400 years, Jordan Peterson. All right. But in the 400 years, has the word meek changed from gentleness and kindness? Has it changed from that to whatever he's saying? Let's listen to what he says.
What it means is this: those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the world.
Imagine that. Imagine this guy's trying to say the word meek has changed in meaning from back in when the King James changed it. When they said it, that's what it meant. That's what he's trying to say. He's trying to say back then or whenever it was translated, that it meant that what he just said. Those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed. And now it means gentle or something like that. What? What kind of foolishness is this? Anyway, I could go on and on about what a fool this guy is, but I'll just leave it there. But just want you guys to know that don't listen to these people, whether it's Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan. Okay, I'm not saying like never listen to them. You can listen to them all you want. I'm just saying understand who they are. They're not your friends. They're not telling you the truth. They're liars. Okay, they're liars. They're out for their own thing, and they're also Illuminati shills. Okay, they're doing like magic. People don't. I don't want to get into that right now, but that's what they're doing. This what they're doing. This whole thing is a kind of occult magic. Okay. Anyway, I'll talk about that some more in another video about Jordan Peterson and these guys with their foolishness. But anyway, that was absolutely horrendous. Okay, that alone, that just what he just said right there alone should completely delegitimize Jordan Peterson in the eyes of any Christian that ever thought he was cool. Okay? But of course, they're all just gonna ignore that. I mean, not all of them, but the majority of Christians that like this guy are just gonna ignore what I just said and just go, oh, who cares? Who cares? I like Jordan Peterson. He tells me to clean my room. He tells me all the psychological reasons why like feminism is killing is ruining my life or whatever, but he can't like properly just read the Bible and explain what it says. But it's like, anyway, whatever, man. Anyway, okay, so thanks very much for watching Toronto Bible Study. Hallelujah.